So welcome, guys. This is actually our last session for this particular series, or not series, but I mean for this kind of, you remember we do the four take a break kind of thing. I think next week we'll are meeting with the champions to see, whether that is something that we'll continue with. But for now, that's the format. I mean, practically, this actually should be session 20 because we don't really count the breakaway session because that's just meant to be a session for us to catch up. But for avoidance of confusion, it's session 21. So it's part 2 of mining for simplicity of understanding. If you joined the session last week and if you are continuing or if you're joining for the first time today, so that means we have done a part 1. So yeah, so I'm not even going to look at this slide because it's just getting very ugly, but I'm going to move on to I think this I mentioned the last time, but I think it's really important because of so many reasons. I think I have found myself guilty of, but in fact, I spoke to one of the speakers who are going to be speaking at this virtual summit. And he was telling me about some of his clients because he's very involved in crypto. And I'm so happy that he's accepted to come and speak for us. And he was saying like, my clients will tell me, I sold my crypto. I went shopping with it. So, and again, the point here is that consistency and long-term thinking is key to profiting in crypto, just like with traditional instruments. And mindset is actually what will separate those who will win eventually. And there are no shortcuts. And I think one thing I want to really make sure, we'll still circulate the questionnaire that Bianca talked about, because it really calibrates where we are, and especially now as we have a bit of time between now and September the 21st, when we'll actually have the virtual summit. Because I really want to make sure that everybody's on board and somehow are not lost on strategy, not lost on what we're doing, because we're actually gathering momentum, as you know. So let me continue. I'm going to jump into this section of what is happening. Oh, Lord. Again, it's messing me up, even though I had fixed it. It's supposed to be what is happening and then key trends and market sentiments. I think you guys, let me just hear from the floor. Anybody who has a sense what's been happening in the past week or so? Anything that is trending? It actually should be pretty obvious. If not, it's fine. I will understand. Okay. Let me go here. Can somebody pick what is happening in the bottom left corner? Somebody spent $500,000 on a rock. Steve Curry bought this ape 30 minutes ago. I mean, some board ape or whatever it was for how much again? Almost $180,000. And there are many other stories like that. Do we know what this is about? I'm going to expect an answer on this one. What is the crypto concept here? Theo, yes.
Yeah, I don't, and I'd like you to explain. I know it's NFTs, but
thank you.
The whole thing sounds Greek to me. So if you could explain what and how it works.
It's NFT. It's NFTs. So sadly, I won't explain because we did a class, actually a class 1 on NFTs, but it's essentially really the tokenization of all these things. And there's now something very interesting happening. It's almost a gold rush. It's almost a bubble. It's almost opportunistic kind of reaction. And that's what exactly Stella Artois is doing at the top there, which is an AB InBev company making beer. Now, why did I put them there? Now they are diversifying their business, getting into digital art collection. And NFTs, my friends, is gonna boom, it's gonna grow, it's gonna go to another level. Now, we're still in bubble phase, that's for sure. But the fact that people who are making beer are now beginning to say, no, we're actually investing in digital art in the name of NFTs, which essentially is, I mean, if you think of Bitcoin or cash or anything, that's what you call fungible, meaning you can swap one for another. That's what's really the whole idea of fungibility is. You can exchange one for another. But non-fungible is this thing that cannot be exchanged. You know, if you think of a piece of art, like for example, the famous Mona Lisa, you cannot really find another. There's only one of that. And now tokenizing or representing that digitally is actually what is happening. Obviously, there's a lot of speculativeness around it, and there's a lot of hype. I mean, imagine this rock. You know, this person paying, it's part of what they call ETH rocks, which actually started in 2017 and now really, I don't know, somebody somewhere for some reason found the need to pay so much money for it because as a collector's item, and obviously that tells you there's money. Now, on the left side of the quadrant, where you see regulators and influencers, again, INN is innovation. So innovation being, you know, AB InBev diversifying from selling beer to collecting art and using these platforms that we have. And then, you know, in the lower section is investors, which is really people just putting in their money. And then the influencer, I put a double, you know, I put Gary Gensler, who is the chairman of the Securities Exchange in the US. He's just said something, I think today or something that's been published on the Financial Times or one of the leading newspapers online, and talking about the need for regulation and the importance of that. And I'm just saying the reason why I put influencers because I want us to be aware who are the people shaping industry, and so that we can actually listen to them, follow them, kind of read a little bit about them, care about what they have to say. When this guy speaks, the markets listen because he's the chairperson of the Securities Exchange. Now, lastly, on regulation, Cuba is actually recognizing and regulating crypto with the view that it's actually going to be used in that country. So that's why I put Cuba, the flag, and crypto on that side. So this is just almost like a quick summary of, I think, just what has happened in the past week. I'll carry on because I think we have quite a long one today, quite a lot to cover. Again, I wouldn't really, I can't state this enough. I think it's so important that each one of us is plugged in. From the questionnaire that Bianca put together, which we'll share. I'm sorry, Bianca, I've delayed on kind of sharing it out. We really want to make sure that each one of us is on the journey. And I'm happy, I think most of us in the room somehow have started. And if you are not, you have not started, just reach out. We are here to help you, you know, to make sure you've started. Because you'll see the topics that will be covered in the virtual event will actually be very progressive topics. So we need people who already have you know, feet in the water. So again, this is stuff you guys know. This is we are on the second. As I said, number 4 is something that I'm still negotiating. Thankfully, it's with somebody who is part of the champions group. So we're discussing, and that's why I'm laying foundation so that in preparation for what eventually might unfold in that direction. Yeah. So today we're looking at mining, big picture. We're going to look at which coins to mine. So from the frameworks we put together last week, and then mining strategies a bit, and then a showcase of profitability calculators that you can actually use for yourself to do some evaluations. So let's get to it. So this is where we are for all of us, so that we are not lost. I know it can be overwhelming, but I think we've simplified it such that it's actually easy to understand that in this game, you can either participate primarily, and that's why we're talking about mining, and doing a series through mining, which is a primary. And then, of course, there's the way we have been buying coins. And then there's also the way we are earning, which is just the other side of it. Great, let's continue. Now, this question here, is it too late? What do you guys think? This is when now we open up and we want to hear your opinions. Is it too late to get into mining? What are your thoughts? A wild guess. Now I'll expect at least 2 people to speak and say something or whatever.
Hi. Oh, you can talk, Mom.
Oh, okay. So Tim, for me, I'll be honest with you. I told people that it is too late to start with mining. Now, with you presenting these sessions, I am very curious to want to know what is the options and the opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Malcolm.
Yeah, Malcolm?
What I was gonna say was, I don't think it's too late, in my opinion. I think it's one of the fastest growing
like things, markets to be a part of. So yeah, that's my opinion.
I love both opinions, and thank you, Malcolm, for
Thank you.
a stronger stand. any other person who has a different view? I love the contrarian view last week, which was like, yeah, it's expensive. Why should we? I don't know.
I was thinking that somebody said something that when is the best time to start something, and he said either yesterday, and if you missed yesterday, it's today. So I feel that it is today is the time, so it's not too late.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. So here we go. I'm just going to do a big picture, just story here that tells us, and then we'll make sense of it. So here, there's a comment from Industry Research Co., which I looked up. So it says the global crypto markets is projected to reach that much in dollars. I don't know what that is. 2584.6 million by 2026. From USD, that which essentially just doubled that really, which was last year's benchmark. And that's an annual growth of about 16%, 16 or 17% if you put it that way. That tells you there's an upside here. Now, if you look, there's a 7 percentile, which is projected by these other guys, Technovio. But the numbers here are massive also, they're not small. And then the most interesting thing, which I didn't include here, and I couldn't include, it's just, there was a lot, is there's a huge investment into crypto mines right now. And especially for the past, I think, in fact, it's very interesting because when China kicked out miners, or people moved out of, miners moved out of China because of policies that were not friendly there. And they're about 500,000 mining equipment that is not yet been landed somewhere, which was being used in mined in China. You'll see the statistic later that I'll share. And it just, if you really look at, without guaranteeing anything, if you look at these numbers, they are saying something. They are saying something that this is an opportunity, and it's not something that we should just look at and leave it on the table. We should look at it a little bit more keenly. And this just, in this conversation, it actually will be a little bit more detailed than the one we had last week. And the one that we'll have after, hopefully we'll have a little more. And then the last one, which will actually be the opportunity, will actually hopefully be convincing enough for us to be able to say, hey, we can make a move. But I've preempted even that already by some of the information I'll share today, which means if you're interested to experiment and begin to check, I'll give you all that information today that you can actually start to look and say, hey, maybe we can look here, including the profitability calculators and so on. Now, I must warn you, it's a lot of information to go through within the period that we have, but we will try. So this is just from last week, to say coining it. There are two main approaches. There are two types of coins. There are those which are being mined, which means require intensive computing activity for them to be generated or released into the network. And that's the mechanism, which is, it's done through mining, or the main participants in this case are what you call miners. And then there are those coins which have already been pre-mined, sort of. And then what needs to just happen within the network is just validations with obviously, some level of rewards that will be given to the miners as part of, or not as miners, but the validators, those who are participating in the network. But the key thing here, the two concepts are proof of work, which is, I think we had a detailed view of that, and Kevin did a wonderful job. You should actually check that, what he talked about, which is proof of work versus proof of stake. So what I call other hashing rules, or, is what you see there, including proof of stake. So this is really a recap. And we are talking obviously on mining or mineable kind of coins. And even the ones that I'm going to talk about are mineable. They use proof of work. And that's actually what we will look at. Now, in terms of mining models, there is probably two primary ways of doing this. The first one is what I call Rambo style, which is, I think we had a ninja last week who was with us, Uli, who has a mining rig, which means, Rambo style, build your own rig, do it your own way. Or even the table that I had, I just felt to remove it because I felt it's not necessary to repeat it, which was using whatever existing hardware that you may have, whether it's your existing, what do you call it? laptop that you want to use. You could set up some software on top of it and then start mining. And there are some coins which you can mine that way. Or what we call pseudo mining. It's not really real mining that happens via the phone because you're just initiating a transaction. And I think Bianca and Tawanda are gracious to share the links. And I will say, Bianca, still share it, for those who didn't get to sign up. And really, if you're afraid to sign up for that's really the lowest form, I don't really see any reason why you should be afraid, because it doesn't cost you anything, at least for cell phone mining or mobile mining, from that table that we looked at. Now, the second is, which is on the right side, is, this shared, what I call shared. So the solar mining, which is Rambo style. Of course, the challenge with this is that we cannot guarantee profitability if you're doing it Rambo. We don't know whether you'll deliver, you'll get anything, it will be worth your time, but you can still do it. You can do it for fun. It will cost you electricity. Maybe it might not be that much, but it might not even be profitable, but we don't know. Now, the second one is actually where I think the money is. The pool mining is where all these rigs now, the likes of, what Uli talked about, could actually be put together. And I looked at the video online and I thought, and I said, no, it's okay. I'm going to share it in the group so that you guys can be a little bit, get a picture of what a mine looks like, because you might be using your imagination and wondering what is a mine, So I thought there's a short video I'll share in the group, which you can look, because I really want to make sure this concept is accessible, because it's so easy to assume that everybody knows what a mine is. We're just thinking of a gold mine or a platinum mine, but in reality, it's actually computer-based. All of it is computer-based, relying on computer memory and processing capability and so on. And then there's what you call cloud mining, which is essentially you now renting capacity online that can allow you to be able to mine. So, I mean, this is part of shared, because you're not just doing it. You could obviously do it alone, but by buying the capacity from a service provider that does that. You'll see some of them as we go along the way. So let me just carry on. The main inputs here, which we talked about last week, is the big factors really that will make or break whether it will be profitable or worthwhile or not is, number one, electricity. That's a very important input, the cost of electricity. And there's two kinds of electricity costs. Does anybody know the difference? If you're in your house, what bill are you paying? Jeremy, you might know this one. What kind of rate are you paying for electricity in your house versus if you're manufacturing, I don't know, shoes in an industrial belt? Are they the same? Perhaps that's a question.
No, they're not. It's different tariff systems.
Yeah. And you'd expect that industrial rates should be cheaper than residential, right? So that's the idea here, to say you probably may want, instead of mining in your house, figure out a way to access electricity cheaper. That way it will allow you to be profitable. And then, of course, the second part is the whole mining hardware. That's an important input. Unfortunately, the prices of this, I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, this has continued to grow in price or increase in price. The third input is things like security or securing the place that you have that, because it's obviously, a worthwhile investment because of what you put down for that. And then lastly, is what I would call, real estate kind of cost, your storage or the place where you're doing this operation potentially, if it's something that is big. So let's look at this, what we had last week, and look at, from the two models that we talked about, which is the shared and solo. Of course, I think I can just tell you easily the left quadrant here, which is where you see the mobile phone and CPU. Those are standalone. Those are for people who want to try. There's a list, which I'll share with you, and you can have a look. You can run it by the calculator. If you're convinced, you can actually still run those two, or this option of the standalone. Or if you're a little bit more inclined, maybe invest in a rig, which is this one here, or probably this is the higher end where it gets sophisticated, because this is a purpose-built hardware that you can use for mining. Now, so in terms of what you can mine, I think we talked about from a mobile perspective, you can actually mine the likes of Pi and BE. There are a few others, but I've not qualified them, so I didn't want to include them here because I felt some of them could be scammy. In fact, there's so many scams. Actually, I need to include that link for scams because there's so many scams that pretend that you can mine on your phone and then it's actually just phishing or spyware or whatever it is. So you only be careful. Actually, I think that's an important point to say that be careful. Don't just mine anything, and unless if you've seen something. I think there's one called Storm. Theo, have you heard of Storm? I think Storm Gainer. It keeps on popping every time. I don't know. And then it just annoys me, I don't know. I'm not just.
No, I haven't.
Okay. It's called Storm Gain or something. I don't know. So the point is that there's a lot of scams when it comes to the easy ones. If anybody tells you you're going to get free Bitcoin, just know they're scamming you. It's not true. You cannot get free Bitcoin. Even if you get it, it will be so marginal that you will even wonder what the value is. You have to kind of earn it, or buy or kind of mine in a proper way. Now, Monero, which I have mined, you can mine on a CPU. Zcash, Byte, there's quite a list of them, and of course our favorite cousin Doge. You can mine on a CPU, but even better, that which you can mine on a CPU, you can actually mine on what you call a GPU. The GPU is this rig thing. CPU is a basic version of a processor. GPU is just like the granddaddy of it, which is really more powerful. It's used for gaming, as I mentioned the last time. Again, I'm saying this so that it's available. I'm not saying this to try to complicate the lesson. I'm aware there are some of us here who are hands-on who want to go and try it. So so forgive me for just laboring and just saying some of these things. I'm trying to accommodate the two kinds of flavors we might have in the room. But I'm not, eventually it might not be the strategy that we use. And then I think the last one is this ASIC miner, which again, does the heavy lifting. If you look at things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, Ethereum mining is gonna end at some point because they have now changed to proof of stake. We don't know how long that this is possible. I mean, this is gonna still be available, but the guys I know, even Uli I know, I think he mines Ethereum. And there's one other guy who mines Ethereum as well. In fact, it's quite profitable actually. And then there's the likes of Bitcoin Cash and Dash. Again, yeah. So I think, are you guys seeing now how everything is connecting and slowly, beginning to build a picture, even if, it's one piece at a time? I hope, is it helpful, by the way? Is this information useful?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we continue. So this is almost, I don't know how to make of it, whether it's a rhetorical question. What's the state of crypto mining in Africa? What are your thoughts? Any thoughts based on this model? What kind of mining do you think happens in Africa in simple terms? I mean, this one I'll expect somebody to just share something. Kevin, you guys are in the digital world in Nairobi. I think you lead the world, or you lead Africa, at least. That's the claim. What have you heard from the street on mining? Or anybody for that matter, that is, who may have some information. Or maybe let me put it this way. Do you think, and it can be a yes or no question, do you think there's a lot of mining happening in Africa? Yes or no? You can just type one if you think it's yes, and no if you think it's a no. Is there a lot of mining happening or not? Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah. Okay. Truth be told, it's non-existent. At least not at scale. Not at scale, it's non-existent. It's non-existent. I tried to look for information online. The best I got was, yeah, there's some guy, you know, in Kenya who was mining, and there's some company who claims to be mining, and then I looked, there was nothing. In South Africa, there's a claim by, I think one or two companies, whatever it is, but there wasn't much. Meaning there was not anything available for the public to consume. And it might most likely be because of issues of electricity or inputs that are affecting the feasibility of mining in these parts of the world. So now this, I must qualify this to say that the future of mining will less be in China. It will be distributed perhaps across Asia Pacific and the US in particular. Europe, I'm not really sure because of electricity costs in Europe. They are quite expensive. Electricity is quite expensive in Europe, and it actually makes it difficult to really envision a future of mining thriving in that part of the world. So I think this is just to give you a picture that mining is actually something that has been fully exploited in this continent. And I think even the US, the percentage is higher than 3%, I can tell you. It's about probably, I think they are seeing that maybe in the next few years, it's gonna be about 30–40%. The US will actually account for that because there's a lot of investments in the places like Texas, because it's very pro crypto. But I think Canada also will have a share of that because of the weather and some of those. I don't know the cost of electricity, industrial electricity in Canada, but yeah, this is just something that I thought, you know, is important to mention. So yeah, so there's not much happening in Africa, I can tell you. So in terms of the mining pools, which is, in terms of concept, guys, so I don't want to lose anyone. So there's the Rambo style, which is you do it yourself, or there is the shared, which means you mine or you join a group of you know, strong computing high-powered computing networks, which is already existing. You don't need to build it. That's what you call a mining pool. And you now have a chance to get a share of what is being mined. Now, there's a whole process which we'll go through around, okay, which ones might be and all of that. But these are just from largest mining perspective. These are some of the largest ones. I mean, I think Ant Pool is the largest, and it's probably, you know, again, it's owned by Chinese, most of this. This one is accurate because I think the data is actually as current as now because it's a dynamically updating visual. Yeah, so I think this is just really information for you to know. And then I think I thought to just break it a little bit further. So another input which I didn't mention is around what is the fee for joining the mining pool. The less, the better, because the less cost that you have to pay in terms of, in quotes, the subscription fee, the more the potential profitability that you have for it. So again, I'm doing a potentially 4-part, knowing that the initial set are just a lot of information and concepts. And I would rather that each one of us kind of has an idea, so that by the time we get, you know, which I really pray it will be the opportunity, then you know what it is that we're talking about. Don't be like, just put your money here, invest, you know, and you're going to get paid. No, it will be, you'll have a whole body of knowledge that allows you to be able to know, you know, what we're talking about and how to engage and be involved. That's really, I just feel that's the right way to do it rather. And then, so they have these ways or mechanisms, which one of them is pay per last name share or whatever. This is PPLNS that I've just put at the bottom. And then others is PPS, pay per share. And then the other one is a score. I mean, those are just little mechanisms or rules of how you're going to earn within that network. So let me just continue. Is this helpful, guys? Before, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm not losing us. Do you appreciate that it's something that, you know, is helping you, I hope? So, okay, great. Thanks, Bianca. Now, these are the other pools that I thought were very well mentioned, you know, and I just thought to put them here. Genesis Mining, Compass Mining. I know quite a number of influencers who I follow, who are really big on Bitcoin and talk about these things. You know, hashing 24, nice hash, you know, these are some of them that I think even for yourself, you might do what I would call just a little bit more of digging, because I mean, you know, again, the whole idea of this platform is we just make this available, information available, obviously having spent some time to do due diligence. And then you can look at it a little bit further, and just see, oh, okay, where does this fit? Even if you may start a little bit later. So I think this is just, again, like the way we covered exchanges. We talked about what is an exchange and what it does. And now we're doing the same thing for mining. So, okay. So we'll do a shortly. So I've talked about the inputs, which is mostly around computing power, which is measured in hash rate. There's the rules, which is used, and that's what you call the algorithm, which is like, for Bitcoin, it's SHA-256. Again, not that it's material, but these are just like the rules that allow Bitcoin or proof of work to work in Bitcoin, for example, or script, which is used in Monero, which actually Monero in particular have blocked high-end computers from mining it. They only allow you to mine it using smaller, using CPU, let me put it that way. Meaning, in theory, you could actually look for a high-powered CPU or even a GPU, which we still consider a CPU, it's just a little bit more of a superior one, and actually mine the thing. And actually, I think I have an idea now. We're going to look at the prices in the market of like Monero and see how much money are we talking about? Because right now, I think you guys are wondering, okay. And then what to mine, I think I've mentioned some of those ones in the checklist, but I have actually a top 5. So today we're not going to do the top 5 index from a buying perspective, but we're going to look at it from a mining perspective, even though I didn't really put too much meat into it. And then profitability, we're going to look at the calculators, and again, these are the inputs. Power, in terms of watts, what is the cost per kilowatt hour? What's the cost daily power? This just gives a breakdown, and it can actually, just an example of a simple calculator. There are many flavors of it, and you can choose any one that suits your style online. And then where to sell, of course, I think we would know that by now. If you have mined it, and that's what miners do anyway, at a point in time, they want to convert that into cash or to convert into some other different type of crypto asset. That's where you sell it in the markets. Of course, the exchanges come to bear. That's when you sell it, and they can exchange that to either fiat, or they can exchange that to any of the other assets that are available. So let's start with potential coins, high potential coins. I think these are, I'll actually make available the link, which shares a little bit more detail, because I just took a high level one. So one of the coins, and I think the thinking that I've used, which I should have included the Pi and BE and the likes, is from a strategy perspective, you could almost look at it from a low barrier to entry, low price. Low barrier to entry could be cost of mining, it's low price, and you get the reward is high, because it's still, okay, nobody cares for it. There's not so much competition on the network. And then you're getting and accumulating these coins, meaning you keep them and hold them with a potential view that actually the value of that coin over time will increase, and that will offset your cost initially. Because your cost initially, if you're mining with a CPU, let's just say for an example, or if you're mining with, in quotes, pseudo mining using your phone, you're just collecting those coins, they might be worth nothing today, but in the fullness of time, which might be in the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years, that actually might be worth a lot. And imagine just like, in my case, I've shared with you last week that I have almost, is it over 3,000 now of Pi, which I've just mined for free. My goal was to get to 5. I'm actually going to get to 5 and go beyond. And I think the other guys who are mining as well are doing the same. Even if that thing is worth 50 cents after 3 years or 4 years, that's a lot of money that you'll have gained, which you never worked hard for. And that's why I think I would say that I don't think it's really late. We just need to dig, gold, you don't just say, people that mine gold, we are tired, we cannot find it. Gold is something you have to labor for. So I think that should be the analogy, to say you have to sweat for it. And you have to find a way to win, or find a way to get some of these assets. Now, I've talked a lot. Let me see. So, okay, before we get to the profitability calculators, any questions or any thoughts that any one of you may have as I try to, let me just see that as I try to navigate. Okay, any questions, any thoughts, any comments, anything?
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
It may sound silly, but I wanted to find out, like, in this era where people are also using the sun, what is it called, the solar energy?
Yeah.
Does it contribute in terms of this, what you're talking about, the cost, the high cost in power?
That's a brilliant point. And so I searched for Africa, whatnot, and then somebody, said, yeah, in Africa, we have a lot of sun, we can use solar and wind. And then the person said, look, sadly, we're just romanticizing it. Actually, it's the right solution. Green energy. And in fact, the last slide actually talks about that it's a sustainable means of mining will actually ensure higher profitability and longevity of this kind of operation, because actually very demanding in terms of current grid, and obviously, the costs come with it. So absolutely, you've said it, that will make a big impact. Green mining, solar, all these other renewable energy sources would actually make a big impact as far as profitability of mining overall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? And hopefully, Bianca, you're slowly more and more convinced. So Monero is here. Monero, it used to be a bit high in the ranks. One Monero is about 300. And you can mine it actually with very basic hardware. I mined it. It's just that your hardware will actually complain. If you have something a little bit more advanced, and it's very simple to set up, I can set it up for you in 10 minutes. That's how simple it is. You download the software, click on it, leave it to download the application. If you have I'm just saying this, if you have a hardware somewhere that is sitting that you're not using and it's powerful enough, you can mine Monero tomorrow. Even Ravencoin, which is on my list here, I didn't include Monero. Let me just, I hope I didn't. Ravencoin, which is here, you get a lot of Ravencoin, by the way. You get a lot of it. And it's not as complicated, as difficult yet. So you can keep that. It's less than $1. This is the price. Of course, Dogecoin is also less than $1. Dash is a little bit high up there, but it's also very reputable in terms of where it's come from. It's from the Litecoin kind of family. And it's good market price, meaning your recovery will it's really just a trade-off of the two. The likes of Verge, which is, I think, number 100 and something. I used to hold quite a number. It's a privacy coins, similar to DigitByte. But the prices are still low. These are just my top 5, which I included from a mining perspective, as I mentioned. Now, so you see here, Monero, there we go, 300. One Monero is $300. So you can either take $300 and go and buy one Monero, which I think is very unlikely. The idea is really to think of what could you rather mine? Like personally, I'd rather mine Bitcoin if it's possible. And earn it that way than go and pay money to buy Bitcoin. So my strategy will be try to mine this kind of coin instead of buying it. And then the other ones which I'll buy, like Cardano, definitely I'll buy Cardano. I'll buy Cardano any day. I'll buy, what is this other one? I'll buy the likes of HBars, this one here, Stellar and all these other ones. I'll buy all these other ones because they are more proof of stake and so on. So just think about it in terms of your strategy, how this is adding to that. So, and then let's now look at the calculator. So what to mine is a bit of I don't like it, the interface, but it allows you to really calculate and look at all of these different elements. So look at this one, Ethereum. What is this? Best rates, some cards. I mean, this is just the hardware that you would be using and the operating system and all of that. So again, so those of you, Ravencoin, here is our Ravencoin. The block time is 1 minute. I think this is, I don't know whether this is the reward, I think. And then there's the difficulty, the estimated reward, the exchange rate, the market cap of that coin. What is the profitability, in terms of the last 24 hours, 3 days, 7 days. If you look here, it's actually gives you those numbers. So you can come and look at it and say, okay, Ravencoin, okay. What do I use? What is needed? What kind of hardware do I need? But again, Rambo style applies. So you see here, it's GPU mining, which means you can actually do it at home, or you can join a mining pool of sorts, by looking at the other options which are available. ASIC is the one that we looked at. I think from an ASIC perspective, that should be higher. So it gives you see the percentage is actually higher. And what you're talking about is the coins are different. All these other ones, the percentage of profitability is higher. You can see these numbers, DGB, this is Digibyte, the one I mentioned, this Pia coin, there's all these sorts of coins, which you can look at. Yeah, and different, this is just the protocol or the algorithm, sorry, SHA 1256 or script. You see Doge is here as well, you see? Profitability, so again, you can look at this and see the highest here over the last 7 days is Decred, with that much. Daily, I think profit is, I think this much or something. I think that's my understanding of Rev. So you can look at this, what to mine, and you can look at what is GPU mining, and it can give you all the options that you can look at, and it's updated, it's up to date. Let me see the other one that I liked. I like this other one. Crypto Compare, I think also gives you these different ones, including let's see, total volume feature. Let me see, I think there's a way you click on, I think just mining, there should be somewhere for mining here. Ethereum, that's the price, the volume, market cap. No, I think this is just a price. No, okay, just down here, there should be a mining calculator somewhere here. Mining, this is exchanges, this is mining. Okay. These are the different mines that which I think I mentioned some of them. So you can Bitmain, and Bitmain is probably the largest, but it's in China. So, I mean, you look at some of these ratings and so on. I think this is not the one. This is the one, nice hash. No, just crypto watts. Yeah. So here, mining calculators. I mean, I think they have different mining calculators, and you can see top crypto mining calculators. You can look at for Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, the ones I've mentioned, and so on. Popular, I mean, you can just look at each of these ones. Let me go to, there's a place that I want, mining profitability. I think just this mining calculator. Let me see. Let's look at this one here. Okay. So 110 terahash. I mean, it's gigahash, terahash, petahash. I mean, this is computing terms. I don't want to confuse you or overwhelm you. I'm just showing you these are the widgets that you can look at. Mining revenue per day, electricity cost, mining fees, all of that. You can actually see it, and it can give you what is your profit per day based on what is the computing power, what is the electricity being put in. You saw that conceptual, right? What is the fees that might be applicable? You remember we talked about the percentage, the less, the better. And you can be able to look at this and see how far. And then even the hardware, which hardware is actually, and you can even, it tells you where you can buy it and so on. So it has quite a lot of information that could be useful for your sake. And then Bitcoin profit margin and so on. Yeah, let's see something a bit more. Let's see, let's go to Ethereum. Okay, Zcash. Let's see Zcash, which you can. This is actually less because it's not terahash. It's actually less computing power. The revenue is that much. You get $10 of profit a day. This is the profit margin and so on. I mean, this requires a little bit of time. I'm just giving you guys an idea. This is not meant to be an exhaustive class. I'm just painting the concept, showing you the calculators out there, what is possible, the fact that these are profitable. I actually had one particular one that was showing what was profitable. No, was it nice hash? Let me just see. Profitability calculator. I think it was, okay. For CPU, manual selection, comparison, blah, 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 all these things, your configuration, if somebody wants to do it for yourself, and what platform are you using and so on. Top hardware, again, it gives you all the equipment that you can use. And you can actually just look at this for yourself, including somebody's written something on Ravencoin, which could be interesting for you to know. You see, this is why I was saying it has a high reward. So 5,000 Ravencoin, the cost, maximum 21 billion. That's a little bit high. This is not really great to have too much of this, but the cost of it is, I mean, the price of it is less. It's actually less than $1, as I mentioned, and you still get a huge amount of this. So if that price moves from 0.02 in a year's time to, I don't know, 50 cents, and you have 10,000 of this, imagine the value. And even if your cost of electricity, which might be high when you're incurring it, later on, you'll actually recoup the benefit when you sell this in the market. And again, of course, you have to check whether, let me see whether you can find Ravencoin. There should be a place to search. Where can we sell this thing? Can we sell it here? Yeah, there we go. Let's see, because you of course you want to make sure that you don't mine something that is useless, that cannot be sold. Market, let's see. Yeah, it's on Binance. It's on a bunch of exchanges, meaning even if you mine it tomorrow and you want to sell it, you can sell it. You can make money out of it. As soon as you see it's profitable, maybe the price spikes up and you have a bunch, and this is a price actually, 0.13, which is, as I said, less than $1. If this thing goes to 50 cents, you know, can you imagine? Obviously you need to calculate what is your cost and so on. So guys, I don't want to really spend too much time and share too much information. So these links, which I've mentioned, are here. There's NiceHash, CoinWatts. I don't know, did I show you CoinWatts? Where is this CoinWatts? Oh, here it is. This is the one that you started with. So each of those coins, you can be able to see, you can look at the value of each, the calculations behind it, and all of that. The same, you can see Monero. I think Monero is not very profitable right now. You see, yeah, it's actually not very profitable. You see, it's a minus. You see, it's a minus, it's negative, you know, because of, I mean, if you think of it, if you are mining Bitcoin when it was $7,000 or 10,000, it was not probably very profitable because profitability has just happened very recently. Now at 45,000, which the expectation, the projection is actually good. It's going to double in the next 2 years or so. Can you imagine? You know, what's you know, even if your cost of electricity in quotes was high, how high can it be from a double appreciation of the asset? You know, so I mean, I think I'm making a case here. Hopefully, is it making sense, guys? Are we seeing it? Does it make sense? I want to hear the comments on the floor. Let's see. Let's just hear. Are we convinced? Are we still doubting? Because the question that we have, actually, there's a lot of links which I'll share on. Okay, let's hear it. Are we convinced? Are we? I want to hear some thoughts before we close, because pretty much that's most of the chunk of what I wanted to share.
I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in again.
Yeah.
And you know, this is the beauty of belonging to a community, and I cannot reiterate that more than, you know, saying it often as I can. Belonging to the community and getting this information for free. This is mind-blowing. And also, you know, just what you've shared for me is very useful. I know Genesis Mining. When I started out in 2015 with crypto mining, Genesis was called the Rolls Royce, sorry, of mining. And it's good to see it's still there, you know, but I divorced mining. I divorced mining. And it looks like I will have to go back and, you know, just go and apologize and take up my portion.
Oh, it's so good to hear that, because, and that's why I'm saying the reason why I share that initial part of the slide that says, you know, we share here, and then you go a little bit and poke a little bit more, because we want all of us to come back and say, hey, you know what, Tim, I actually found this mine. You know, I look at the cost from the calculators, it makes sense. Then somebody can come back and say, yeah, I've actually put some money here and it's actually working for me. You know, right now we're sharing this because unfortunately we don't have anybody at the moment, at least my thinking. Maybe there's somebody in the room who might say, yes, I'm actually mining and making money. Uli obviously shared this story last week, and I'm actually hoping to engage him a bit further to just really share a bit more. So I'm very happy to hear that, Bianca, that you're actually finding this useful. Any other person who may want to comment? I'm actually going to pause here and just hear a little bit of the thoughts and comments on the floor. Did any other person who just wants to share how they are finding it and what they are thinking? Are they convinced that actually this is worth just, you know, digging in a little bit deeper and just maybe investing and kind of mining? Elena, what do you think? Or any one of us, do you see where it fits in your strategy, in the overall crypto strategy? Because remember, we're still building on that theme. Jeremy, I mean, again, we're not committing to anything. I'm just asking your opinions. Yeah.
I was gonna say, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the coins that one can mine,
Yeah.
I see that from your presentation, for instance, the ones that are still available and affordable, it's a whole different ball game of coins compared to the ones that I have been used for purchasing and buying, you know. So then the question arises to say, what is the risk of mining these coins and investing, and then down the line they don't actually you know, appreciate, you know? And then of course the ones which are very solid, that is quite an undertaking, because now, as you said, some of them have certain requirements in terms of how you can mine. So it will depend on the strategy mix at the end of the day. That's how I can put it, of investing.
You've put it very well, Jeremy. And I think it's very important. I wanted to include something on risk, but I thought risk is almost inherent. Risk number one is, what is your costs going in today? You know, if I'm spending so much mining a Monero and it's actually not, I've mined and I'm not getting much and I'm spending a lot, then I think number one, using the profitability calculator, you should almost be able to disqualify that. Or even if you're saying, oh, okay, it's actually below the radar, which means it's a low-end hardware, which I'm just mining. It will not, firstly, it will be very noisy. It may not really consume, because I remember I mined it wasn't really, I don't remember seeing an impact on my electricity bill, in as much as equally what I was getting was very low. But I can tell you that if I had kept those coins, unfortunately, I think that computer crashed or something happened to it. I can tell you I would have been in profit right now. So there is the risk of the cost of input. There's the risk of the fact that it might have zero future value, which I think you have to accept as part of your model. But there's the beauty of diversification, in that you actually now, instead of, I mean, like a Raven coin, I wouldn't buy it. You know, I'd rather mine it. Doge, I bought it because of hype, whatever. But if I have an opportunity, if it makes sense, if I run a model that tells me it makes sense to mine Doge, probably. But I'm actually, you know, a top 5 quadrant that we normally share. My recommendation, which is I think qualified, is if there's a way you can mine Bitcoin, then do it. Because you'll always be on the upside on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's utility has been proven. Buying it might be a bit expensive. I think mining it probably, I think, is a Trojan horse. I think just my view would be, I would say, in fact, my strategy would be, I would actually want to mine Bitcoin through a mining pool of something, or some kind of vehicle like that. So that will allow me to diversify instead of just buying. So I think those probably are the highlights. Again, there's a lot of links and resources available, which I consulted. And I kind of looked at it, rain checked from my own understanding. Again, I'll make this available or as part of the video. So you can kind of, or the recording, you guys can kind of interrogate it a bit further. And just see where it lands you. And it's okay, again, you know, across mining pools and concepts and things like that, I think that would be helpful. I think this is actually the point that Immaculate was making earlier, which is around, and this was actually the headline on the Forbes. Green Bitcoin mining, the big profits in clean crypto. And just an incidental fact, the guys who have been mining Bitcoin have been the most profitable in this season. The most profitable. Do you know why? Does anybody know why? I'll tell you. Well, yeah, Bianca, go ahead. I think you might have an idea.
No. no, I don't. I wanted to say no. I don't know.
Yeah,
Please enlighten me.
the reason is whoever came up with Bitcoin and the rules of proof of work invented the most perfect system against inflation, because the Bitcoin cannot be generated faster or slower. If the mathematical puzzle is easier, the requirement is simplified. You know, so if the puzzle is easier, then the algorithm essentially regulates that such that it cannot be if you have a lot of computing power, the difficulty goes up. If you have less computing power, the difficulty goes down. Now, there was a large exodus of miners from China. Guess who benefited from all of that? Existing miners who never went offline. And that's why they have been the most profitable, more than ever. And obviously, there's the benefit of the price of Bitcoin going up. So it's just one of those things that they call it a windfall, right? Harvesting a windfall. So I think that's it, guys, for our session today. I will just go to our other section. And this question is, crypto mining, are you keen? And I think from the answer that we've gotten, it looks like we are interested to really see how do we do it. And as I said, my promise is the end goal of this session is to try to get us to where we can actually have hands-on. And the value proposition is going to be very compelling if it works out the way I'm hoping it works. If it doesn't work out that way, we'll still find a way that we will propose to the rest of us beyond the information, you know, that hopefully will be will work for us down the line. So I think just a few things to share from an updates perspective, and then we'll close. I'm very happy to report that as of 1st of September, which is today, we have all of these speakers confirmed. Morne, who is actually, he runs the Binance group in South Africa with over 5,000 people. He accepted to speak to us on the 21st of September. We're going to run it between 6 o'clock in the evening, the same time as we do. So it's going to be 3 consecutive days. So a Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Thursday. So between now, today and then, we will not really have anything else for the community. We'll just take a break as we normally do, because we've completed our curriculum or semester, if we may look at it that way. And also just give us a bit of downtime. And then we just come for a 3-day back-to-back. And then we'll also take a break and then come back in October, when I'll teach Bitcoin. I'll teach Bitcoin with revelation. That's the conviction I have. I don't know if it changes, of course, I'll communicate at that time. So I must say this, and I would request each one of us, please take a minute, take a moment, invite. The flyer will be out by weekend with all these people's pictures and their profiles. I spoke to Morne for about 20 minutes. I felt that was the richest 20 minutes I've spent with somebody, because he shared a lot of tips. You know, you go here, you get this much percentage, there's this new thing, you click here. And I'm thinking, yo, and he's Morne is like very local, simple guy. You might miss him in his accent, very basic, you know, in the way he sounds, but very grounded. Oh, you know, I started this thing in 2016. Like, I'm just, it's like, gosh, I can't wait to listen to this guy tell us the gems of what he's doing. So it's very practical. And the idea is really that I told him, look, come share your story and all of that. So you guys are insiders. You're getting this from me. Now, the gentleman from Bahamas is probably going to talk a little bit more concepts. He's going to talk about things like NFTs, DAOs, and all these other floating things that I even don't know fully. So that's a session worthwhile looking at. And then the lady will actually highlight, Erican, will talk about investments. And she's running a fund in the US. She's the first Black woman to do that. That's the statement. She's been on many media platforms. She's very well spoken and actually lived here. She's originally from Nigeria, has lived in South Africa in Durban. So she knows, a little bit of the context we are in. So it's going to be very exciting to to welcome these voices and to hear their input, when we have this virtual summit on the 21st to the 23rd. So let me hear, with your permission, are you guys excited? Do you feel it's the right thing we are doing? Are you going to be there? Are you going to invite? Yeah, who wants to say something? And then we'll just close. That will be the end, actually. This will be the last slide. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bianca. Definitely, thanks, Jeremy. You can type your comment if you don't want to unmute, because some people might be eating or something. I don't know. I understand we melted. It's a bit, and 7 o'clock is prime time. Yeah, okay, great. So guys, do not miss for anything. Do not miss for anything. And it will be interactive with Q&A. We may not run slides. I don't know. I think they'll just speak because we don't really a lot of time. And I think I just want it to be organic. And yeah, please invite others. Please, please, please. We are growing in the community. We are past 100 people now. And the idea is to spread this message out there. So I will not drag this any further. I just want to thank each one of you for actually just making time today to come through and to say, I hope you've gained something. We are taking a break until we resume on the 21st, but we'll get the flyers via our channels and we talk, and I'll share all of these things as they are, as soon as the recording is done. And yeah, so thank you again and have a lovely, lovely evening. And thank you for making the session.
Thank you, Tim, for everything.
Tim.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bianca. Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you.